afternoon. Oh my God, I'm seeing people I didn't even right here. Good afternoon. One of the things that's great about an event like this for us, for those of us who teach at the GSD and stay there all the time, is getting to sort of talk to each other in a way. I really enjoyed Moses' presentation, for example, this morning, him sort of telling us what we've been doing, and it's really fun. But I say this, the single most impressive thing that we do is represented in the work of our students, and that's what Mariana Ibanez is going to do for us now, is show some of the work of our students. Mariana is an associate professor of architecture. She teaches in the core design studios, which is really, really important for us. But she also teaches options. She has a firm together with Simon Kim, and doing work sort of urban architecture related. So welcome, Mariana.
Thank you, Michael, and good afternoon. It's really great to be here and to be part of the event. The title of this talk is GSD Now, and can you just go ahead? And as the slides begin to roll, I would like to first share a brief backstory to where this material is coming from. About a year ago, Moisen asked me to be the guest editor for the upcoming Platform issue. Platform is a publication that the school produces every year. We have been doing it for 5 years now, and it's a curated volume that collects the work that our students produce in studios, in seminars, workshops, the discussions we have in conferences, events. So it's a combination of both formal and informal events that take place at the school during one academic year. Now, when I said yes, I think I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. The school produces massive amounts of graphic information and written information as it is translated from our events. And by we I mean me and my editorial team, we had to navigate over 1 terabyte of graphic information. I'm not sure if the lights are the best for some of you, just so it is an intimidating process, but also a very interesting process that allows you to see the school as a whole. Most of us, even though we're very interested in collaboration, we teach under the structures of our departments. We are guest critics for many studios, both inside and outside of our departments. But this publication is really the one that produces this almost transversal cut that reveals what are the common issues that motivate our work and our discussions. So Moisen asked me to talk today about some of the things that are going on right now at the school. And so the material that you're seeing in the screen are just a few extracts of what we included in the platform book that is printing right now. So I didn't tell you I speak very fast, so please let me know if I need to slow down. I'm going to let the images roll. I'm not going to describe any particular projects, but I did want to share some of the discoveries and themes that emerged from looking at the work and organizing the material. I will speak of several agendas that we preserve and some that are put forward as new as we focus to convey and develop our disciplinary knowledge while we think about the relationship between design thinking and design production. One key issue when looking at the work is to think about how we see the school in the context of design education. The school has always maintained an open-ended experimentation while being deeply involved in the culture and traditions of the disciplines. Experimentation, by its very nature, carries risk, but it also produces a lot of empirical knowledge. And without this, we cannot really know what are the boundaries of what we're trying to do and even how to push past them. And our students have been incredibly effective at producing experiments that generate real research. In order to do this, we move in and out of focused problems to understand their part in a larger tradition and narrative. And just to name a few examples, several option studios are looking into new combinations of programs so we can rethink our ideas about typology. We look into radical interiors to also think about how to develop new types of envelopes. We work on the contemporary metropolitan condition so we can imagine future developmental models or emerging concepts of nature. Another prevailing agenda is design as social practice. Our pedagogy reflects the changing conditions of the world. We think about how to engage with the environment and how our work evolves as new social criteria emerges. From disaster relief to anticipatory design, these projects look into building systems and new materials, as well as into logistics in post-disaster areas or underserved communities. We ask questions to understand the complex socio-political scenarios that will shape the future of our cities. Another dominant issue is the digital medium and its impact on design methodology and evaluation. Many of our studios and seminars with briefs that are introduced as early as in the course sequence look at the methodologies and implications of computation in design. There is a lot of work being developed at the school that looks at how traditional questions are being explored in the context of digital design and new technologies. And it's not just fancy screens, although we do have some of those too. But we're looking at emergent theories of inhabitation as technology becomes more pervasive. We're thinking about embedding information within the physical object of our buildings and cities, and the new models of inhabitation that these new exchange produces. So obviously technology is a big protagonist in our school. I think many of the images that you're seeing now on the screen reflect some of the discussions and comments and remarks that were made early in this morning panels. And our curriculum touches on issues that range from digital media and fabrication to visual studies. Just on a side note, and I know there was a question this morning asking about our facilities and resources. For those of you who have not been in the school for a while, our Fab Lab and computer labs and workshops constantly grow. And this expansion is really visible in the work that the students produce. The techniques that we use to build our artifacts of inquiry are producing new languages and new ideas that are not only important as techniques of representation, but as new visions of how we think about form and assembly processes, and how we develop analytical tools and new materiality and so on. Our resources facilitate and enable very specific explorations. Our students are building one-to-one prototypes at the same time that are building physical models. So there's really a combination of perhaps conventional or well-established techniques that are paired alongside very experimental work and explorations that look into new forms and also new techniques. Although hard to show through slides, last year we've had very intense and productive, interesting debates around the issue of practice. We consider how what we do inside of the school relates to what we see outside in the field. Our integrated studios are now structured under models of collaborations that I think were not really common before. We have structural engineers sitting in desk groups with our students in our integrated studios. We have students from the landscape department and the architecture department producing like temporal collaborations and group work that then get developed as individual proposals in their studio projects. We have all sorts of collaborations that are perhaps for many of our students a first experience at the types of collaborations that are necessary and exist in practice. All of these issues keep us focused on relevancy and adaptability, how we ask questions that stimulate new ways to think about how it relates to the environment, how investigations on new materials and new material behaviors bring new ideas of tectonics, meaning, and form. And the questions are precise yet very open-ended. And ultimately it is our leaders, the students and the faculty who are responsible for how the design fields are advancing. And our community is never satisfied with simple answers. That's why our debates are so productive and engaging. And we create an environment that is encouraging and involved and critical to bring out the best in our community. The diversity of the work that the students produce always impresses me. But after having to look at it as a whole, almost like an external view, I'm even more impressed of the diversity and far-reaching work that looks at ideas both near and far. And because of this, I think we can, and we as a faculty and our students can take on contemporary challenges and new language, geometry, critical ecological questions, and still produce a sense of place and environment. Even after a book and a few presentations of this kind, it seems that it's not really possible to know everything that is happening in the school. That is kind of troubling and exciting at the same time. Alongside curriculum, we have a very rich culture of events. I included only a few images, and I know Moisan had some more in his presentation of the many events that took place last year. We had a lot of colleagues and visitors and in-house faculty that produced a fantastic lecture series and discussions that gather peers from around the world, and many I know are in the room today. Wang Shu gave a lecture on his local and global agendas. We produced a conference on the, well, Michael really, on the operativity of history and theory, and those discussions really transpired into the studios, into understand how knowing history and theory is absolutely necessary as a design instrument, not only to know the past, but to produce the future. The ethics of the urban debated the future of cities and politicized metropolis, and we had Philip Glass practicing the piano in Piper for hours before his event, just to name a few. And of course, the lecture series, as always, produces some of the most interesting and intense debates amongst our chairs and dean and students. And what you see on the screen right now are really the examples that are a response to all of these intellectual provocations that the school constantly puts out there. I'm at fault of not being able to be very succinct in my presentation in terms of the images. There's really a lot of wonderful work. So I think the presentation has like 300 plus slides, which most likely we won't be able to go through. And but the book will come out soon. It's not propaganda, but I think it's worth looking at it. And I'm really finishing up in terms of what I wanted to say as our attitude towards production, and this is the results of our efforts in teaching and in debating. So again, I don't think we will look at all the images, but I would want to finish by saying that our students are incredibly intelligent. I think we are lucky that we have the best students from the country and from around the world coming to our school to produce and be the next practitioners that will really dictate how practice will develop. Our students are driven and dedicated to expanding our fields with sophistication and rigor. And what you see on the screen is a small, really a very, very small portion of what has been produced and achieved over the past academic year. So.